the idea of all the theatrics it just seemed to evolve and get more and more involvement in the theatrical. You guys took it a way that no one else was really going, you know, to the fact of, you know, the snakes on stage and the rumors of chickens, and as we talked about, and were there dolls, and did you guys you didn't have the Cyclops yet? That came later after the midnight.
That was Alice's solo stuff,
Yeah. So, but how did you create that idea itself? Or the ideas of the stage show, which was so different than everyone else?
Well, I think there's a couple of dimensions to that answer, and the first one is our background is
theater from school.
Arts, no, just arts. You know, because we were all taking either sculpture, watercolor, life drawing. Everything that we could just to be creative in school. My major was I wanted to be an architect, so I wanted to take all these art courses to understand
curves,
understand all the things about art and geometry and etc. So and Dennis is a great artist. Alice is a great artist. Charlie Carnell, who did our lights, he's a great artist. And I mean, all these guys went to the same school. So first of all, once I was part of the band, it was, I mean, anybody you talk to, it was a true democracy. We all did our 20% of the work, of the creativity. To give you an idea, you're talking about the snake. That was my pet snake, Kachina, who was right there on the album cover, and of the Killer album. And I had her as a pet on stage. We had Isn't My Body, and everybody's got to work, so you got to pay for a mouse. You got to go work on stage. So she started going on stage. Dennis was the one that came up with the electric chair for Black Juju. It was a song he wrote.
Yeah.
Dennis was the one that came up with the original Spider Eyes for Alice.
Right.
So I mean, everybody was doing their part, throwing in to theatrics and the music. That, and going back to what I said before, when people leave, we were inspired to just do different things on stage, again, because we wanted people to either love us or hate us, didn't care, but wanted them to remember us. And if that just, whatever it took, and we're all a bunch of show-offs.
Sure.
So I resemble that remark. So we go down and say, we'd love to do whatever it took. And then, people started throwing stuff at us. We'd throw it back. Sure. We're from the Midwest. We're going to sit there and run and cry like we're from L.A. or something.
Yeah.
We love
no offense, L.A.
We
people.
love L.A. And
so you're there.
So that's really one part of it. We loved what we were doing.
Sure.
The other part of it is I think the climate of the late 60s and the 70s. We had now just gone through Vietnam. Mm-hmm. We've gone through Charles Manson, landing on the moon, Altamont, a rock concert, peace and love, and somebody gets stabbed, shot, or whatever. And
Hell's Angels,
the dark side of the culture was starting to turn, and it's like everything else; it's timing.
Yeah.
And I think the Doors started to scratch the surface of it a little bit with their lyrics. They didn't do it theatrically on stage, and we never talked about it, but we just knew that we had a blank palette, a blank canvas, and we could just create whatever Alice Cooper was from the day that we came up with the name Alice Cooper, or the Ouija board did, which is a true story.
Oh.
But so after that, we could create whatever it was, and the more we created, nobody was even coming close to doing what we were doing.
No, it was all original as far as I could say as a kid.
I mean, there were people that had wild costumes on stage. I mean, Crazy World of Arthur. Well, dolls were after us too, though.
Yes.
Well after us.
Well, where do they steal all this stuff from, right? Yeah.
Well, steal or inspired. That's a thin line.
Good point.
And because we were certainly inspired by the bands with lead singers from the British invasion, like the Stones.
As they were with the American culture music. Yeah.
They just kind of shot it back at us, and then so what was the next step? Well, we wanted to do something a little bit different. But even some of the lesser known bands in the UK back in the British invasion were starting to get a little more theatrical, but they didn't have the music to back it up. And again, Arthur Brown, he came out with a wild costume and his hair's on fire and everything, the crown's on fire. But still, it didn't translate to props on stage that would come in and come off like an act, like we would do. And then ultimately, the Gallows coming on stage off the Killer album. So I think that once we found out what we were, it was easy because nobody else was doing it. And I think all original bands, all original acts, original celebrities, actors, actresses, once they figure out their niche and they go, it's like John Wayne. Well, nobody's doing this. Clint Eastwood, I'm doing a little bit different than John Wayne did, but it's my thing.
Yeah.
Once you find that, you just live in it. And we were living in it, and we could have, kept doing it for years.
Yeah.
Like the Stones. I mean, once they were the band. The Beach Boys had 2 guitar players, a bass player, and a drummer, but the Stones weren't the Beach Boys.
That's right.
So everybody does their own spin on it, and then once we open it up, then the door was open for a lot of the bands that followed, like you're talking about, the Dolls or Kiss or.
Well, I just see so many young bands today trying to search to find their own identity, to find that marketable place. It's so hard because anyone's got a computer and anyone's got a guitar is a rock star today, and it makes it hard for the true professionals that are trying to get out there. They're doing okay, but the whole industry is just kind of upside down.
Well, I think a lot of that is when the technology, and it's so ironic that the music industry has always been the tip of the iceberg for technology in a lot of aspects. But when the computer age really took over in the technology with the downloads, they got behind the 8 ball on that.
Mm-hmm.
And they have the Adeles, they have people that sell astronomical amount of albums,
mm-hmm.
and but like you say, anybody can put an album, a video out, and it's also funny that it went from everything goes in cycles. Now it's to download. If you have a song that downloads 250,000 copies, like in a week or 2 weeks, that's essentially a hit song again. But it's one song. It's like the singles back in the 50s and 60s.
The 45 discs.
Yeah, the 45 discs. So it's back to one song again, and then I don't even know if people are download. I mean, the Killsmith stuff is available for downloads.
I know they're watching the videos. Well, that's what we're spinning into now. Is that after the Alice Cooper, what have you been doing yourself? Like I noticed on the Road Dog music group, we've put up one of your videos.
Yeah.
So from there, you're still in the music business, and you're
well, that's brand new. That was since the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction. And but from the mid '80s to present day, I've also I basically got out of the real estate business, and I think one of the reasons I just wanted to be around a whole different group of people.
Right.
And so
you've gone back into the more art people.
Well, I'm a Libra, so I balance between art and business, and I always have, and that's why I was so.
Good combination.
Well, it is, but not everybody can do it, and it's almost. And I'm not a multitasker at all. It's hard to walk and chew gum sometimes. But
everyone else.
Well, I'll back up just a little bit to when I started the real estate business, and because I always tell everybody that I think I'd love to write a book about the ethics of rock and roll sometimes, or the music business, and I would have 300 pages that were blank in the book.
It's interesting, okay.
Because there are no ethics in the rock.
No, it's all over the place.
I mean, it is a cutthroat business, and that's why I didn't want to fall into the trap that a lot of people do, and of having fights with your best friends and everything.
Yeah.
So, but I just got out of it, I went through a bad divorce in the early '80s, and just changed my whole lifestyle. And to try to reinvent myself, and then by the late '90s, I had done some songwriting, some recording, just sporadically between the mid '80s and the late '90s. But then when Glenn Buxton and Mike Bruce and I got together in Houston, Texas, for a reunion, we got together for 2 weeks. Been a long time since we'd seen each other.
Sure.
We got together, we played, we did some shows, we did their big rock station down there. We did a big broadcast early morning at a big club called Billy Blues, where they simulcast the show. We did our greatest hits. And Dennis couldn't make it down there, so we had a friend of ours, Richie Scarlett, played bass guitar, and we had a keyboard player that also joined us. But Mike's a great singer. He sang all the songs. We were there for 2 weeks. 6 days after we left, Glenn passes away. And I start really doing some soul searching about, everybody's mortal, obviously. And I had to make decisions way back when the band was together. I don't know, again, what band some of the guys were in, but we did as much as everybody else. Drugs and alcohol were everywhere. You couldn't be in a band in the 70s or the 60s without that.
So there was drugs were quite prevalent, like
They
involved?
were everywhere.
I know it was always around, but
Yeah.
because I remember a quote from one of the lead members of your band that said it was just basically a lot of Budweiser and Jack kind of band.
Well, I didn't drink whiskey, I drank vodka.
Okay.
But there was always pot around, there was always cocaine around.
Mm.
But again, people brought it.
Yeah,
You couldn't get, nobody bought it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the only thing we
I
bought...
find that still with a lot of musician
Yeah.
friends of mine, is the fact that it's not them, it was, people that they brought into the
Yeah.
room with them.
Yeah, in the 60s there was LSD. I mean, there was all the stuff, Detroit. I mean, you can't go anywhere in those days.
I remember Detroit.
Without drugs. So it was around, it was prevalent, but...
Or I don't remember Detroit.
Again, going back and forth between the United States and Canada all the time, you don't want to be involved in drugs and worry about that kind of stuff.
It can destroy your career pretty quick.
Yeah, and it's just, I mean, there was targets on our back. I mean, look at the band. I mean, we look like, for most people looking at us, look like, 5 transvestites and going, so, I mean, we couldn't even go, and we dressed more outrageous when we got off and on planes than most bands did when they were on stage.
Right.
So
got them talking.
Yeah. So we just had to be cool about that. And again, I've always been a beer drinker myself, but that stuff was around. And but we survived. And but there was a time when I said, okay, do I want to? If you recall, drummers didn't have a big shelf life back in the 70s.
No, it's
There
used to be a lot of jokes I remember with all my drummer friends and stuff about how fast they could be replaced.
Well, Spinal Tap, for example.
There it is. That's the one that
which is one of the greatest farces in the world about the drummers. Is fantastic.
Mine's stir crazy. I love that movie. A bunch of geriatric musicians trying to make it back in the scene.
Yeah, I haven't seen it.
Oh, yeah, Billy Connolly's in it.
Yeah,
fantastic movie.
So I had to make the decision about that, and that's why I got into a completely other line of work. But then, after Glenn passed away, I wanted to start getting back into it again, and if I could write some things, and it was, they were fun to record, and had some legitimacy to it. I wanted to be involved, and I always liked to sing or create a character, and that's where the Killsmith thing came from. I had done Platinum God back in the...
And Slingerlands.
Well, these are the original drums from Million Dollar Babies. You can't see them, but
we have them on film, so we'll see
yeah.
them. But this is amazing because
well, actually, these are premieres right here.
Slingerland is the cat's meow of drums for myself watching. Probably influenced by you as a kid, and then they stopped making them. And of course, everyone buys Pearl now to say that they're a rock star because they got Pearl.
Yeah. Right.
So, but I think we should go buy this company and go.
I don't think it wouldn't be too difficult to do it, to buy it. But so that was why I started to get more into the music again.
Right.
Dennis Dunaway and Joe Bouchard. Dennis Dunaway from Alice Cooper, our great bass player. Who I still think that rhythm section between Dennis and myself is one of the best rhythm sections from the 70s in any band ever. And I know between and the Circus Magazine, Cream Magazine, another thing that's not really talked about, Dennis and I were always in the top 5, or if not number 1, in the voters polls every single year that they have those, 71, 72, 73, 74,
I still
75.
have a lot of Cream and Circus Magazine still today.
And that was a great dimension of the band that really no longer exists. But I think that I mean, as being a musician, like I said, I did a little through the late 80s and majority of the 90s, a little bit in music. I mean, I've always had a studio, but Dennis and Joe Bouchard from Blue Oyster Cult, their original bass player, also a great guitar player, and myself put a band together called Bouchard, Denham, Wayne Smith. In the early 2000s, we did a couple of albums and played shows on the East Coast and some shows over in England and in France. So we started to I started to get a little bit more involved in it. Then I had some friends who did a project called Cinematic, sort of parallel, but it's all hand percussion. As you see, I have a lot of hand percussion instruments around.
A lot of African drums, yes.
Yeah, African and Native American drums. And so I use those. It's a little bit more laid back, but it's actually a little more jam oriented or reminiscent of the earlier Produce For You and Easy Action Alice Cooper albums.
Okay. Yeah.
So, when I have a glass of wine or, a beer after a hard day and want to hear something mellow to kick back and listen to, 50% vocals, 50% instrumental. But nice, pretty mellow stuff.
So where's Killsmith going?
Well, Killsmith came in during the same time I was going into New York to B.B. King's, and I watched a couple of bands, a band called Pigface, King's X.
I've heard of King's X.
Yeah, and there was a band called Tapping the Vein, a great metal band with a female singer out of Philadelphia. Great heavy metal band, but they had great hooks, like more commercial hooks. I'm surprised that they didn't, haven't broken through yet, but they're a great band. I also heard a band out of Texas, greatest name I ever heard in a long time. It's called the Shirley Temple of Doom.
Oh my goodness!
And I mean, I love the name.
A new need for a drink there, guys.
And they're like a Texas three-piece, but real heavy metal stuff. And
ZZ Top goes extraordinary.
But yeah, ZZ Top and Rammstein kind of a thing. But and then Rammstein, of course, my favorite heavy metal band of
they are
really
awesome.
all times.
Yeah.
And so, I was listening to this stuff. I said, I played guitar my whole life. That's what I've written. Matter of fact, the guitar is here in my studio that I wrote the song off Love It to Death called Hallowed Be My Name, that I wrote that song on. So, I've been playing guitar I've always had a guitar. I've been playing it almost as long as I played drums, but never really more than just to strum enough for a melody. Michael Bruce would take over the song, and then, we would collaborate on it from there. But the Killsmith Sexual Savor album, which is this album.
There you go.
That's that's my first one. I played all the rhythm guitar on it, all the drums, sang everything, wrote everything, a little bit of keyboard, and then had a couple of young kids come in and play the guitar work on it. And it's very X-rated. I really, I have a tendency to have a very colorful vocabulary. For our Canadian viewers, I would never fucking swear. I swear to God, I never would. So.
Really?
No, I didn't. I never would. But
censor. We don't have a lot of we try not to have a lot of censorship in Canada.
Yeah.
Certain governments come in and try to censor us a little bit more than others, but
I know.
we're pretty free up there with our language.
I know, and they never swear. But
Never.
those censors. But at any rate, so there's a point when whatever audience I develop, and if they don't like it, I really don't care. If they do, that's great. And I know a lot more Alice Cooper fans probably were turned off to the music than new fans. But a lot of the hardcore fans also liked it too, which is cool. And I wanted to have that little bit edgy spirit of the first stuff that we used to do.
Right.
And I think another thing that gets sort of glossed over, swept under the rug, whatever cliche you want to come up with, was how frightening, you touched on a little bit, how frightening our band was to the status quo and to the establishment. I mean, they were scared to death of the band because they couldn't figure it out.
Sure.
And we were banned in some towns, and they would come to a show and watch it and go, well,
they don't understand the humor behind it.
There was a lot of humor.
Yeah,
there was tons of humor in what we were doing, and they were taking it seriously. And it's no more serious than watching a movie. I mean, the violence and everything. I mean, we're not up there advocating going out and, killing people.
Were you not, sorry to interrupt, but were you not banned from like England a little bit because they were afraid of the violence, and it was, you guys explained to them saying that there was more violence in Shakespeare? Was there not a quote?
Well, I think that, because Alice was sort of the spokesperson in that endeavor, and whether it was the UK per se, but that did happen a lot.
Yeah.
And again, once somebody would come and see us, a lot of it was the rumors and the legend of the band, which even while we were together, the band was still pretty much legendary. So I wanted to recapture a little bit of that in the lyrics, and a little bit of that. Not like you say, everything's been done. It's nothing that's shocking, but I wanted to have that edge to it.
Sure.
And on Sexual Savior, I think I found it. Then the new one, Killsmith 2, which was the working title, and just stuck with it. It's a little bit. Everything that's on it could be played on the radio, and that's just the way that the songs evolved. There wasn't like, okay, I'm going to do this. A song sort of takes on its own character.
See, the one with the no-no language, we send that to the university radio stations.
Yes.
And then the good language we can send to the regular radio stations.
Right. Do they still have radio stations?
Yes, they do.
Oh, that's good.
At least up our way. That's how we communicate up there, because we don't have paved roads. And
yeah, that's good. Yeah, I know that. I understand. Just trails where the Indians...
That's right, horse trails. And,
yeah. There's nothing wrong with that either. It just takes a little longer to...
I just got shot in the head.
It just takes a little longer to get there. Rush hours, we won't talk about.
Right, well, you got to watch out for the moose.
Yeah.
They're really bad. And the igloos, when they melt in the spring, our feet are always wet.
Oh, geez.
Anyhow, where can they? I want you to push the fact that you have a website and of course lots of videos. Now I put some up on the Road Dog Music Group video site there, but I'd like them to be able to head on over to you and
well,
buy your music.
My new site that was put up right after our induction to the Hall of Fame is nealsmithrocks.com.
Okay.
And there's a link. You can buy my CDs and photographs and sticks. So as a matter of fact, somebody from what was it, Hope Valley, New York, just bought the new CD and a pair of my sticks last night. So I mean, they find it, and I sell autograph sticks. And I really had to raise the price on it because they went so fast.
Yeah.
And but they're actually sticks I play. These are not.
Well, there you go. How many people can say that they got something that's the actual artist has touched?
So I make these things available, and it's just enough to keep the site up, that kind of a thing.
Right.
But the new, and I spell my name Neal, by the way.
Okay.
Which is another bone I had to pick with the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, because
they misspelled.
Neil Diamond was also inducted at the same time as we were last year, and so I got my little trophy, which is a beautiful piece. I should, matter of fact, I should have it here. But it was spelled Neil, and that's not the way I spell my name, Neal. So
I think I made that mistake the first time we started communicating, and I quickly changed it.
Good.
Yes.
Good, because I would use that cane for something else.
It's okay, Sebastian. It's okay, Sebastian. He wouldn't hurt you.
No. He's cool. So that's why I said, and then it has links to CD Baby and Amazon.com also have everything.
Are you going to do some touring? Like, are you going to formulate with the band?
Well, if I could find an audience somewhere where we have been in rehearsals for several months and we're ready to go, I'm singing all the songs, and which is a whole new challenge for me, to play drums and sing at the same time.
Yeah.
And I said I wasn't multitasking.
Phil Collins says that's very hard to do.
Well, Phil Collins he's a Brit. Well,
they're sensational. They can do anything, right? No sex, please. They're British, but other than that, they can do everything else. Yeah.
What you said.
It was on the dog here, okay? He had nothing to do with that comment. So, Neal, you're going to the band's formulating itself. You're possibly can tour or do something.
Well, yeah, I have two.
You're gonna come up to Canada maybe and do
I'd love
a show.
to come to Canada.
Dennis was up there a little while ago, up in Kitchener.
Well, that's the Blue Coop. He's back with Joe Bouchard, right?
That's right.
Blue Coop.
Yeah.
And because I just mentioned the fellas that are in the band, Killsmith on the new one, Killsmith 2. One of the great bands in New England is called the Doug Wahlberg Band. Now, Doug's a guitar player and singer that goes back to the late 70s when Dennis and I had a band in the New England area called Flying Tigers. Another friend of ours, a great guitar player, Kevin Franklin, he's in a band called What Up Funk. Another great band. It's a totally different kind of music, but he has kind of a Hendrixy style when he plays his guitar. And so he did a couple tracks on my album, and he's in the band. Peter Catucci, who it's his studio, and the bass player that I work with that has made this all happen. And he's a great singer also. And like with Doug and Peter, I mean, they're great singers. I've developed a character, a real rough voice in it. It's like a biker kind of a thing. And these are the guys that made it happen with me. And I played the rhythm guitar and I played the drums and sing, but they're the frosting on the cake without a doubt. And they're great players. So they would be playing with me with
Wonderful.
Wonderful.
Wonderful. One of our last questions here. If Mr. Alice Cooper himself, Vincent, asked you, all of you guys, to come back and do a show, would you?
Well, we did several last year.
Right.
And
but I mean, like, let's go on the road. A number of other bands I see that, let's use the Van Halen. They've got David back again. A lot of these other bands have formulated, they've settled, everything's come back to what went around, all of a sudden's come around.
Yeah.
If you did that, would that?
Well, that offer's been on the table for Mike and Dennis and I for over 10 years. So I mean, we're our bags are packed and ready to go whenever that would happen. And we've in 2010 we did Alice's wonderful fundraiser for the Solid Rock Foundation.
I saw the video footage and so on.
And so we did shows down there. And of course we did at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in New York for the induction last year in 2011, and then we went out to LA. You're talking about the show out there that we did at the Nokia Theater for the Golden Gods Award, and then we also did a hologram filming for Jägermeister that was aired at the beginning of the summer of 2011 in London, where I actually did a show. But we weren't there because it was all holograms.
Okay.
And that was a great show. And so we have done some things, but I've been one of the people that would love to do sort of a Cream reunion where they went to a town, maybe like Toronto, and played 2 or 3 nights and videotape the whole show and record the whole show, then go to Detroit and then go to L.A. Whatever, find a couple shows. But so far that hasn't.
I personally think that would be a monster thing to do.
No, we're ready to go. We've got all the sponsors ready to go.
Come on, Vincent. So
no, we're all great buddies, and I mean, I'm happy for the times that we've been together. I'm happy for the recording on Welcome to My Nightmare, where Dennis and Mike and I and Alice got to do 3 songs on the album together.
Yeah, we were talking about that earlier today.
Yeah, and that was
a great album.
That was fun to do.
It
and
sounds like these days.
Well, how could it not? I mean, Mike plays his guitar. Mike sings background behind Alice. That's like Keith Richards singing behind Mick Jagger. I mean, that's the sound.
That's right
there. And Dennis singing too. So I mean, all the elements are there. Just Glenn unfortunately is no longer around. But at any rate, no, we would love to do it, and again, I would love to do it more for the fans than anybody else. But every year that goes by, we're just getting older too. So
we all are. We all are.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Well, listen, the Killsmith guys, and look them up. And we're with Neal Smith, and Neal, I can't thank you enough for taking this time.
Oh, James, my pleasure, man.
No, hey, geez, I'm humble to you because of the years of standing in front. How much money I put into buying all these records.
By the way, I was going to thank you for buying those cars for me.
Oh, you're welcome.
Okay. Yeah. Too bad I don't have them anymore.
No wonder I drive a Ford now. He took the Rolls, so.
Well, my ex-wife's lawyers got the money when I sold the Rolls.
Yeah, ex-wife.
But that's for another interview some other day.
Yeah, another day. Thanks very much.
All right, you're welcome.
ground. Strip down, strip down, 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 strip down. Strip down, strip down, 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 strip down. When she starts grinding to that drummer's beat, she comes alive like a tiger in heat. Her sexy body falls into a trance. The night comes alive when she starts to dance. She doesn't dance for money. No one works the pole like my hot little honey. A white night lap dance in my private room. When the lights go out, she goes boom, boom, boom. A boom, boom, boom. She goes boom, boom.